our first-time attendees. Wow, thank you so much for coming. Yay. So I'd love to hear from you afterwards what brought you today and what intrigued you about attending today or how you heard about it. We really appreciate everyone's attendance. This is a monthly event held on the second Monday of the month, usually at various locations across the community. Franklin Tomorrow, our mission is to engage the community, foster collaboration, and advocate for a shared vision for the future of Franklin. Now, who knows how long Franklin Tomorrow has been around? Wait, I'm gonna call on somebody. Susan. Yay, 25 years. So we were founded in 2000 by a group of business and community leaders, elected officials who wanted to make sure what made Franklin special then could still be found today. And we work closely with the city of Franklin. Mayor Moore is here, and thank you to the city TV staff for being here as well. Work closely with the city and other organizations to collaborate. And one of the ways we're going to do that this week is we have our 25th anniversary summer celebration on Thursday night at the new Bicentennial Park. Barry, we're testing it out for you for the ball, okay? Because the Heritage Ball is moving there this fall. In Franklin tomorrow, we're going to have our summer Cheers to 25 Years. The Exotics will be playing. It's going to be a great fun event. We'll have a little bit more about it. Tickets are just $100, and we appreciate that your support of that. So, good, I can start now. Christina Christensen is here and has a special guest with her. Who do you have with you? Maggie Jo. So that's nice to have you all here. Atmos Energy is one of our sustaining partners, and we appreciate their support for all of our events. And they are a great community partner. And then we have Reagan Smith is a Pape Dawson company. Reagan Smith is a great partner and also in what we do as a sustaining partner. And then Williamson Health is a great partner. Greg Broy is here, and we're going to play a video after Greg says a few words.
I need to have a song prepared with my microphone. Good morning, everybody. I have an important announcement since I'm going to write it down so I can be sure I get it correct. But many of you remember longtime community leader and philanthropist, the late Ralph Drury. One of the causes Mr. Drury was passionate about was improving health care for women and children in Williamson County. He was also a member of the Williamson Health Foundation Board. And when he started A Vintage Affair, it was his commitment to ensure that is exactly what happened. 25 years later, it was a busy year. 25 years later, A Vintage Affair has donated nearly $3 million to several local Williamson County charities, with the largest beneficiary being the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit at Williamson Health. We wanted to take a few moments this morning to recognize our most consistent corporate donor for its years of support. All of us at Williamson Health look forward to continuing to deliver on Mr. Drury's vision for years to come, and alongside his daughter, Carrie. Let's take a look.
Ralph Drury was a member of the Williamson Health Foundation Board for many years. He selflessly served this community in so many ways, and as a founder of A Vintage Affair, in propping up other nonprofits in the community is really, really special.
Ralph had a vision and a mission to improve the health care of women and children in this community. And that's when he started A Vintage Affair, it was his commitment to make sure that happened.
25 years later, we have donated just shy of $3 million to over 26 local Williamson County charities. Our largest contribution to Williamson County has been the NICU at Williamson Health. My dad always told us when a mother gave birth at Williamson Medical Center at the time, that mother and the newborn, the baby, were separated if they were a high-risk birth. That baby was taken to Nashville for specific care. Nobody could understand that, and that's when my dad and the board got behind the organization here.
A Vintage Affair has given close to $1 million to Williamson Health through the foundation. They are our largest and most consistent corporate donor.
We brought our board members, our executive board team and advisory board members to visit the NICU, take a tour, and we all left so humbled and extremely passionate about what we do and that we actually do make an impact.
For them to walk through the doors and to watch their eyes light up, it was moving, it was emotional for many of them. I would love to thank Vintage Affair for their 25 years of service to the community, specifically for their 20 years of support for Williamson Health. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of our staff's hearts, from the bottom of our board's hearts, for everything that you do and you continue to do to make an impact in this community.
And then our presenting partner for Frank Talks is Renaissance Bank, and Diane is here, Diane LeBlanc. Say a few words.
Morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. We're proud to support Franklin Tomorrow for their 25th. It's a big week. I know Mindy and Renaissance is proud to be on the board. I've served for, I think this is my 5th year, and we truly believe that Franklin Tomorrow is an important nonprofit in our community to serve. I don't have a video today. I know you might be disappointed. It's not quite football season, so the SEC short videos are a little bit lacking, but we hope to have that up and going soon. As you may or may not know, Renaissance is over 120 years old. We just finished a large acquisition out in, or down in the Hattiesburg, Mississippi area. So if you're traveling down to the Gulf for vacations, you may see us. We acquired a bank called The First. So that takes us a little over $25 billion in assets, but we also are growing here in the local market. And I wanted to share a fun event tomorrow with you as we open our Antioch office. I know, Davidson County, but me too. So we have our grand opening, and the office that we are now present in is 14977 Old Hickory Boulevard. Tomorrow, we have Walker Zimmerman. If you're an NSC fan, I know it was a disappointing loss on Saturday, but they did have a big guy playing that, you know, we may or may not know, Messi, something like that. But 2 to 4, Walker Zimmerman will be present at our grand opening. So we'd love to have you there, share our new facility, and meet some of the staff there. So thanks, Franklin Tomorrow.
Thanks so much. And I hope you got some coffee. Thank you to Lion Leadership Group, who is the local McDonald's franchisee, for hosting our coffee at both Frank Talks and Breakfast with the Mayors, which is July 29th. And I would be remiss, thank you for the hospitality to the Moore Morris History Culture Center. Barry Beasley, the CEO of the Heritage Foundation, is with us this morning, and Nat Taylor, who is the director here at the History and Culture Center, will have something to say at the end. And you are welcome to spend some time looking around this morning and looking at some of the exhibits. There will be some new stuff that we'll see later this year, and we're pretty excited to be partnering with the Heritage Foundation to honor the 20th anniversary of the publication of The Widow of the South by the late Robert Hicks. And we're going to be partnering together, and we're going to ask for your support, too, in reading the book and having some discussions on the book and its impact on Williams County and tourism, because it is significant, whether it was 20 years ago when the book was published. So thanks so much to Barry and her staff and team for letting us be here this morning. So a couple times a year, we try to introduce you to some people that we've met who we think would be great for you to know as well in a little more casual setting. Now, they got PowerPoints, so it's not as casual as it might be able to be seen, but they do have PowerPoints. But we're looking forward to hearing from William Scales, Jr., who is the chair of the board of the Heritage Foundation. Also, Neely Boyd, who's the new executive director at High Hopes Therapy and Preschool, and Dr. Shane Hall, who's the new Columbia State Community College campus director here in Williamson County and also works in engagement opportunities. So they're all kind of new on the job of this role, and it's a great opportunity for you to get to know them. William has to leave at about 10, so we're going to let him do his program, and we might take 1 or 2 questions if you have them. I'm going to hand him the clicker, but welcome William Scales.
So good morning and welcome. Before I get started, I wanted to say thank you again, Ron, for hosting it here in the History and Culture Center so we can showcase one of our greatest assets at the Heritage Foundation. I do encourage you to visit and walk around once this is over. But my presentation today is going to walk you through how I got here, who I am, to was talking to you, and then tell you a wee bit about Heritage Foundation and try to encourage you to get involved with it. So, I'm originally from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I went to Wake Forest University for undergrad and ended up graduating with a degree in psychology and minor in philosophy. And the reason why I had no idea I wanted I thought I wanted to be a doctor and was pre-med until I met chemistry. We did not get me. So, ended up with psychology and philosophy. I had an ROTC scholarship when I was at Wake Forest, so I had 4 years of active service and I was department once I graduated. And I did that as an air defense artillery officer. So I was stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas, which is in El Paso for 2 years. I then was in Suwon, South Korea on Korea Air Base for 1 year and then back to El Paso, 5 years. Then I went to Drake Wallace, which is in Des Moines, Iowa. A Southern guy going to Des Moines was a little sneaky at first, but they got its hooks in. It's a great place to raise a family, very family-oriented and very friendly. And I joined a firm there called Winston Netty, practiced there, became a partner there, was very involved in their community on several boards and also mentoring in several programs until I met this lady. This is my wife, Deanna. Deanna's originally from Nova Scotia, Canada. Her father worked for Michelin, so called from down the United States, the mid-90s. After grad school and working in Atlanta, she got a position in Florence, where we met. And she had a 2-year plan. She held 2 years before I'm getting out of here. Well, I kind of extended that a wee bit. But ultimately, she got recruited back to Middle Tennessee. And that's how we got it. And so in 2017, we moved here. And in 2018, we built a home here in Franklin because we fell in love with the Main Street, the feel of the Heritage Foundation. Now, professionally, I'm a partner at GSRM Law. I practice in real estate and construction law. So from a real estate perspective, I represent businesses, individuals, and government entities in zoning compliance, in real estate contracts, and real estate disputes, and landlord-tenant matters, commercial landlord-tenant matters. And on the construction side, I represent both landowners and contractors in those kind of disputes, mechanics liens, business deals, contracts that break down. Also member of Litigation Council of America, which is an invitation-only trial lawyer association. Limits its members at 3,500 across the country, less than 1% of all lawyers. And then this is our theme. This is what really motivates me to get involved in this community and to ensure that I'm giving back the place giving so much to me. In the middle, that's Charlie. Charlie is their mixed stranger and often steals hearts. On either side of Charlie, that's my daughter, Harla. And you have these two photos that really kind of show the breadth of her personality. She picked out this outfit. That's not mine, that's my wife's doing. She's a assassin. 3 going on 16. And this is us in Uruguay last year. She loves to try new things, loves to spin, but here she is having noon tea with us. She has hot chocolate, but in Europe. Now that said, I like to get involved in the communities where I live, to give back to a place that's giving so much to me and to my family. And here in Franklin, I do that through kind of 2 ways. One, I serve on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I see a couple of my colleagues here. Thanks for coming. And then 2, the Heritage Foundation of Williamson County. I've been on that board since about 2020, became the board chair in January this year. And I work with an amazing presidency of named Barry Bees, who's here with us today too. And she works tirelessly to preserve and promote the places, items, and the stories that give Williamson County such a rich history and rich tradition. So just some kind of basic facts about the organization so you understand. Our vision, and this really captures how we feel. Our vision is to be the reason the world knows and falls in love with Williamson County's culture and history. It's the emotion that we're really trying to do. and what we really care about here. And to achieve that vision, we have the following mission: to preserve, promote, and advocate for the historic places, stories, and culture of our kids. Been around since 1967. Very involved in educating folks about preservation. We put 134 buildings on the National Register. With 4 business divisions, I'm going to talk about those here briefly so you understand how you get involved, what we actually do at Canada. We do that with support of over 2,500 amazing donors and supporters involved in Here's Me. That not that we do without us. And we have several events we can talk about those too. Over here. So our mission has 3 pillars: preservation, education, advocacy. We'll talk to you briefly about some preservation things we did. I'm sure you've all heard of the McLemore House, owned by Harvey McLemore, who was a former slave. Well, we partnered with the Habitat for Humanity to purchase that home, renovate it, preserve it, and then sold it to the African American Heritage Society, to ensure that was preserved for future generations to understand African American roots in Frank Lewis County. Another great example, right next door, the old jail, which is the old jail. That's another one that was the 3rd jail in Williamson County. And over the years, it fell into disrepair. We purchased that building. We renovated, preserved it, and now it serves our headquarters. So another instance of preserving and making sure things are maintained for future generations. One more recent example is down at Lake Richland. There is a primitive Baptist church called the Ed Break. And unfortunately for the old break, their congregation disbanded. But they came to look for someone who could help, who could be their champion to ensure that their story could continue to be told. And so we are taking over that space and going to make sure that it's preserved and maintained for future generations to know about the old brick. What's also really cool is the 2nd oldest building of its type in our county. From an education perspective, on a yearly basis, we have, among other things, a preservation symposium where we invite a nationally renowned preservationist to come and speak. One of those recent ones was held here, and it's really cool to hear and learn about, on a national scale, what preservation is happening and how sometimes we're the model for that, and also learn how to improve what we're doing to be the best here in Tennessee. Another kind of cool, kind of hands-on thing is we have these workshops. And one of those workshops we have is Brick Wall Workshop, where we discuss how to preserve older brick walls. We actually completed one of those projects in this area. And one of the final ones I'll touch on is where you said. The History and Culture Center is our opportunity, our attempt to educate about what Williamstown offers from a historical perspective. And so, again, I'll encourage you to walk around, interact with the exhibits, read what it has, and you'll learn a lot about the place you live. Advocacy. One key piece of advocacy I do want to touch on today is something that's on all of our minds, which is great. We all really care about the nature and the feel of Franklin. We want to remain kind of a small town, but growth happens. The Heritage Foundation on Post Growth, we do want smart growth. And so we try to stand in the gap between the neighborhoods, places, items, and things that we value and developers. And we try to have that voice and say, hey, developers, here are the reasons why this particular area should be sensitive. Please try to compromise this aspect of this area to ensure, again, to preserve those things for future generations. So we have smart growth. To do all the amazing work that Miss Beasley shepherds, we have these 4 divisions. We have the Downtown Franklin Association with Franklin Theater, Franklin Grove Estate Gardens, and the History and Culture Center. And I want to talk about each of those briefly. Downtown Franklin Association is a member organization that helps to promote, preserve, and economically develop and sustain the downtown short corridor. Over 200 buildings and companies that are there, making sure that our downtown remains vibrant economically and so Franklin Theater, another one of our flagship preservation efforts. This in the theater that closed in 2007. And we bought it, preserved it, renovated it, and now it's still here for this community to love and enjoy. And as I'm sure you all know, it hosts movies, small concerts, and be rented for private occasions. And it also has a $5 million economic impact on the community. So a very important piece of Franklin's game. Yeah. Franklin Grove Estate Gardens, that's our vision for our future. That's where we're going to house all of our educational opportunities. You'll house this facility. It'll be a one-stop shop where we can showcase all that we do and showcase what Middle Tennessee, essentially what Williamson County has to offer. And so there's some amazing and exciting things that are coming at time period. And the final thing is we talk about the Isthmian Ultras. And that's the space you're in here now that tells the story of Williamson County. What's really cool is some of the things we have on the horizon. In the next few months, you'll have an exhibit about historic windows. You'll have the author of some of the statements. And finally, you also have a bit of local things, with meeting exhibition. So there's a lot of really cool opportunities here. So I encourage you to become a member, to remain informed about what's going on, because it's a really wonderful opportunity. Now, finally, before I close, I want to talk to you about our festivals. With Main Street Festival, with Pumpkin Fest, and Things of the Christmas, these are one cases of events that we put on with help and partnership from our community. What's really cool about these, though, is that they offer a $10 million economic impact for this community. And then the final event that we had in this year's Heritage Park, which we discussed earlier, a little bit back to it. Help me out. Bicentennial this year. And what's cool about that event, it is the longest running black tie event in our community. So we encourage you all to come and enjoy that opportunity. And am I going to do questions or am I?
I want to give, since William has to leave, I want to give time if someone has one question. Is there one question? Okay, well, William, thank you so much. And Neely, I think we're going to try to change microphones. This one's got a little better volume on it. If you want to come over here, actually, I've got plenty to bring to you. I've got plenty to bring to you. And I'll get out of the camera. Neely, how long have you been on the job? Yeah, no more tripping. Because I did trip this morning and had a little fun, yeah. How long have you been on the job?
Well, full-time, I started last week. Part-time since the beginning of June.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'll let you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mindy. Thank you to the entire Franklin Tomorrow team and History and Culture Center for putting on this wonderful event and inviting me to be a part of it. I'm thrilled to be here today to talk with you about an organization that really has a special place in my heart, and I would imagine in a lot of your hearts also. As Mindy said, I'm Neely Boyd. I'm the Executive Director of High Hopes. I am new to this role, but I'm not new to High Hopes. I've been on the High Hopes board for the past few years, and I was originally connected to High Hopes through my work in education. For the past 15 years, I have worked in education, specifically with schools and nonprofits that are doing innovation work in the education space. So organizations that are really trying to think creatively, think outside of the box about how we ensure that all students are set up for success in our education system. I do live in Franklin. My husband is a teacher in Williamson County Schools. He is starting year 20 in the classroom in a couple of weeks. We also have two elementary school age children who are in Williamson County Schools. And I'm originally from Nashville, so I grew up in the Middle Tennessee area. And am so excited to share with you today an organization that has a tremendous impact on Middle Tennessee. So High Hopes, as I mentioned, I got connected to it through my work in education. Our mission at High Hopes is to equip children of all abilities with the skills necessary to thrive in life. We do this work through our pediatric therapy clinic, through our preschool, our early childhood education program, and through really personal connections, really close work with the families who bring their children to High Hopes. Part of our mission is understanding that when families really understand the work that is happening within the walls of High Hopes, they can continue to build and expand on that work outside of High Hopes. High Hopes was started 41 years ago in 1984 by a group of families who all had children with special needs. And at the time, they had to drive all over to get the services that they needed for their children. So, as you can imagine, this took a big toll on their families, right? Every service that their child needed happened in a different location. Oftentimes, these locations were not anywhere close to each other. So families spent the greater part of their weeks driving around to lots of different locations. And this group of families got together, and they said, what if? What if there was one building, and in this one building, we could have all of the services that our children need? We could go to this one place, and we could have all of the therapy services that our children need. We could get all of the education support that our children need. And we could have a community of other families who are navigating similar experiences to what we're navigating. And so the idea for High Hopes was born. 41 years later, we are in our current facility that was built a little over 10 years ago. We had another addition a little less than 10 years ago. We now serve 1,000 children from across the Middle Tennessee region. So we are based in Franklin, but we serve children and families from 17 counties. So it's really cool to see kind of how that one idea now impacts so many families from across the whole area of Middle Tennessee. One of the main ways that we serve families is through our pediatric therapy clinic. In our clinic, we provide 5 types of therapy services for children. We provide physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, feeding therapy, and behavior therapy. Our therapists are well known for being at the top of their field. We have some really, really impressive credentials in our therapy clinic. But what makes High Hopes Therapy Clinic really special, and what we're truly known for, is the unique relationships that each therapist takes the time to develop with their patients that they see. Every therapist takes the time to get to know the children that they work with, to get to know their personalities, their unique needs, so that they can ensure that children are growing on their individual path. This idea of kind of helping each child as an individual grow on their path is something we espouse also in our preschool. In our preschool, we have a model where children with special needs and typically developing children learn alongside each other in the same classroom. This model really benefits both our children with special needs and our typically developing students. So our children with special needs benefit from being around their typically developing peers, because the research shows that when you are working on learning a new skill, if you can see that skill modeled by your peers, then you're more likely to more quickly acquire that skill because you're watching other children do it on a daily basis. In addition to that, our children with special needs have the support of the therapist that they work with in the clinic. So the therapist that they see in the clinic can come into the school, work with their children while they're in their classroom, and so they're getting their therapy services in their natural environment. This model also benefits our typically developing children in a couple of ways. The first is that we keep our class sizes intentionally small, so all children benefit from having a lower teacher-student ratio than you would see in most preschools. Also, the whole philosophy of our program is really individualized personal attention. And so all of our students, regardless of what kind of needs they have, are getting to work with teachers who are really trained to notice their unique needs, to pay attention to them as an individual, because that's the whole philosophy of the work that we do in our preschool. And then all children, every child who's in our school, benefits from, at an early age, being in an environment where they learn that not all of my peers move like I do, not all of my peers look like I do, not all of my peers talk like I do, but all of my peers are an equal and important and valuable contributor to my community. And so when children have that experience at an early age, that's a learning that they get to take with them into the rest of their lives, and it really shapes the perspective that they have as they go into their elementary schools. So I could tell you forever, I could stand up here and talk forever about the work that we do at High Hopes. But the best people to share the story of High Hopes are the families who are in our community, who are living the work that happens at High Hopes every day. So I'm excited to share with you today the story of the Dobson family. The Dobsons have been at High Hopes for a little over a decade, and I will let her share with you her experience.
Hi, I'm Rachel Dobson, and my husband Mark and I moved to the Nashville area in 2008, and about 2013 we decided to move to Franklin, and I was pregnant with our first son, who made a surprise appearance 3.5 months early. His name is Asher, and he's been coming to High Hopes for over 10 years now. He spent about 90 days in the NICU. It was pretty turbulent in the NICU. He was great at first. They think he caught some kind of virus at some point, and then the roller coaster really kicked in, and we almost lost him at one point. At about 9 months, we were involved in early intervention, and they referred him to High Hopes, and so we came over here and checked it out and started PT with Kelly, who's been our PT for over a decade now. At some point, I don't remember the exact timeline, we ended up adding the full range of things. We added OT, feeding, speech, and we were just here all the time. Asher loves his therapists at High Hopes. He has certain things he always does with Miss Kelly, and certain things he always does with Miss Sharon, and certain things he always does with Miss Mary Beth. And so they know how to kind of take those things he loves to do with them and turn it into something fun, so that he is willing to work on the things he really needs to work on that maybe are not so fun in the moment. It was at about 18 months old when they officially diagnosed him with cerebral palsy. You have gone through in your head all the different things that you imagine your kid is going to do when you're pregnant for the first time. And then it changes, and you don't know he'll get to do any of that. And Asher does do a lot of the things we imagine. He rides a bike. The bike looks different, but he rides a bike. He plays baseball. That looks different, but he plays baseball. Asher was probably about maybe almost 2 years old when we felt comfortable enough putting him in a classroom situation where he was around a bunch of other kids. And his therapist had recommended to us that they felt like the inclusive nature of the preschool here would be a great fit for him and really help him kind of take everything to the next level. That peer modeling, the inclusion was such a blessing for him. He just started to take off. He loved it. Then at some point, his brother came along, and so Maddox started here too. I'm glad they both had that foundation. I'm glad Asher had the benefit of peer modeling, and I'm glad Maddox had the benefit of just seeing so many differences and it just becoming second nature, that that's just the way humanity is. I don't know where we would be without High Hopes and the people around us at High Hopes. I'm just so grateful that we've had that lifeline, and we're just eternally grateful for what High Hopes has done for us.
Thanks. One of the things that I am really excited about as we think about the future of High Hopes is really thinking more creatively, starting to innovate about how we better integrate our therapy services into our education services. So as I talked about earlier, and as you saw in the video, the way that our clinic interacts with our school right now is when a child has a diagnosed need that they need one-on-one support for, that therapist can come into the school and work with the child. But one of the things that we know from the research is that the most rapid period of brain development happens from birth to age 5. And so every child who's in our school is experiencing their most rapid period of brain development. And we have this really unique opportunity to use the expertise that is in our clinic to make sure that we are supporting the whole child for every child that's in our school, right? Not every 2-year-old is going to have a diagnosed speech need and need support one-on-one from a speech therapist, but every 2-year-old is learning how to talk, right? Every 2-year-old is building language skills. And so every 2-year-old in our school can benefit from the expertise that our speech therapists provide. Every 4-year-old is learning self-regulation skills, right? Every 4-year-old is learning how to sit quietly. I heard some laughs, see, you know it's true. You know it's true. Every 4-year-old is learning how to sit quietly and listen as somebody reads a story to them. Every 4-year-old is learning how to control their bodies when they feel angry, right? And so not every 4-year-old is going to need one-on-one support from a behavior therapist, but every 4-year-old can benefit from the expertise that our behavior therapists have. So we're really excited to start doing some more work in our school to make sure that every child, regardless of what their individual needs are, is truly benefiting from all of the expertise that we are so fortunate enough to house all under one roof. So we're really excited about that. And last thing from me, we are a nonprofit, and so the work that we do takes many hands. And we are so grateful for the folks in the community who are part of our community. If you haven't been out to see our facility, our Senior Director of Development, Christina Bachman, is here. And she and I love taking folks on tours. So we would love to have you out to come see our facility, to come see the work that we do. And if you are interested in volunteering, if you ever have extra time and you want to spend it somewhere, we are always grateful for the extra hands. So thank you.
So now I'm going to introduce Dr. Shane Hall, who's not new to Columbia State, and not new to our community, but new in his role at Columbia State Williamson campus. And so I'm going to turn it over to Shane, and Shane, you have to talk to it like this over here.
I hope I'm in the right place. So I am not new to Columbia. Do I have a PowerPoint or do I not? Okay, let's see. Hold on. Oh, it's me. Hi. In case you haven't noticed, I'm Shane Hall. I'm the Vice President of the Williamson Campus and Community Engagement at Columbia State. I've been in that position for 6 weeks, I am very new to that. I'm not new to Columbia State. I'll talk about that in just a moment. So I am also currently the acting dean of the Language Arts Division at Columbia State until August, where I'll very happily hand over those duties to the new dean. So essentially I've been over in the English department, communications department, foreign language, a huge exciting background there. A little about me, I actually am I graduated from Columbia State in 2008. I'm an alumni. In 2008, I was 38 when I graduated from Columbia State, so I'm obviously not a traditional student at that time. Tennessee is home for me. I grew up in Columbia, Tennessee, in Murray County. I always aspired to live in the Franklin area because it's very beautiful. I love the historic history. I love Columbia as well. I've been a Williamson resident for 20 years. With the exception of 5 years that I lived in Atlanta because of work. When I moved back to Tennessee, we were really fortunate to be able to move into the Williamson County area. We had a family at that point in time. It was a huge decision for us where our kids would go to school and the community that we wanted to reintegrate into when we came back to Tennessee. So we chose Williamson County. I've been with Columbia State for 15 years. I worked at Columbia State while I was in graduate school, part-time. I've been there for 10 years full-time. And I've been an English professor for a considerable amount of that time. I wish I could say in 1988 I was a very successful student coming out of high school. I was not. I was cute, okay? I'm adorable, and I have not a clue about what the world is like. At that time, I didn't really love authority. I didn't understand what college was. I thought I was relatively smart, and I thought smart kids go to college. I was on vocational track in high school. I was in electronics classes. I took in ninth grade, I was the president of the Future Farmers of America. I mean, I'm from 19 generations of farmers. So, I mean, I thought that that's what I would end up doing. I had a penchant for technology, which is strange because I was an English professor. But I had a penchant for technology, and I end up getting electronics classes. That allowed me to do other things later, but I just wasn't very successful. I didn't understand that college is just a job. But like many of the students, let me talk about this. I was first generation college student. My parents didn't go to college. And that's fairly common in this region still today. My dad, World War II was going on. He went in the Navy. I'm the eighth. I'm a very late child in the family, but I was the eighth child in the family. My dad went in. He was scared he was going to miss the war. He lied about his age and enlisted. My mom is from coastal Georgia. I mean, she fell in love with him. I wish that I could say that they had a splendid long marriage. Unfortunately, it ended when I was little. And like a lot of students, I end up at Columbia State, and I'm very confused about what it's supposed to be like. I don't know that I just need to work at it. And, so what I do is I go get a job. I get many jobs, and I am very fortunate, okay? One of the things I learned is that if you show up on time and you attempt to do your job, people will respect that. And I was so fortunate. I didn't have a college education. I went to work at Murray Regional Hospital. A friend of mine's mom was the orthopedic floor charge nurse. She said, I think you'd be really great at working in the hospital. They've got a position open. I'll recommend you. And I went to work there. I ended up being a unit secretary in the ER for several years. And then I met my future wife and fell in love, and she finished college, and she was moving to Knoxville, so I did too. I chased after her. We got married. I became a medical equipment service technician because I had a background in electronics. Don't ever let someone tell you that communicative competence doesn't matter. People know who you are by how you speak, and the language of an industry is carried forward in how you speak. I got that job. I knew when I had the job. I knew, because the moment I started using medical jargon, I could tell the interviewer absolutely was willing to hire me. I went to work for Respicare. I got recruited in 2000. I went to work for the largest medical equipment, durable medical equipment provider in the nation, Apria Healthcare at that time. I managed operation logistics for Apria. Things were going amazing for me. But what starts happening is I'm rising into careers that people that normally have business degrees are in. And that sounds great. I take a risk and I go to work for this company out of Atlanta, independent living company. They want to open and diversify. I go to work. I go to work for them in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I'm so excited. We've started having a family, and I want to get back to Tennessee. And I get to live really close to my home. And I end up working for them as a development manager for their new project. They got bought out a year later, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there not sure what I'm going to do with my life. I looked at maybe I had a little bit of money saved up. I looked at maybe buying a business. I looked at would I go to work for someone else. Unfortunately, I didn't have the education I needed to be able to get the jobs that I felt like I was qualified for. So I went back to college. My life had changed substantially, okay? Up until that time, I made a mistake, kind of a mistake that a lot of people make. I was really sold that Shane Hall was something I needed to invest in. And what I had to figure out is that you have to invest in something more important to yourself. And I became a husband and a father. I became a pretty good listener because my wife wouldn't have tolerated anything less, I can promise you that. And I learned you can do anything if someone else believes in you. And I was sitting there talking to my wife when I was talking to her about going back to college, and I said, Stacy, I said, I don't know about this. And she said this to me. She said, in 2 years, you can be who you are now, or you can be who you are with an education. That choice is yours. And guys, those words hit me really hard. This woman loves me, she believes in me, but she knows I have to make the choice. And so I make the choice. And I get a language arts degree, 2008, I'm 38 at that time, okay? I'm no spring chicken coming out of college. Well, I decide, you know what? My mom always told me that I'd go to Vanderbilt one day, so I did, okay? I graduated Vanderbilt University in 2010, I'm 40 years old. And then I go to Murray State University. Murray State friends out there. so I graduate there with an MFA in Fine Arts and Creative Writing in 2012. I do love to write. I love art. And then finally, it took me a little while longer. In 2022, I graduated with my Doctor of Arts in English Pedagogy and Technology. I wish my late mother was here to see this. I wish some of my elementary school teachers were still around to see this, because I was not a kid that sat still very well in class. I'm very talkative, if you know me. I have a lot of energy. It's hard for me to sit still. I don't know that any of them would have banked on this. So why Columbia State, though? Okay. I had to make a lot of decisions. I hadn't been really successful at Columbia State whenever I tried to go when I was 18. It was embarrassing to reapply. I was really scared and nervous. I was debating whether I would just go straight to a university. I was going to do a business degree. Life's weird. I ended up being an English professor. And so I think what happens is reality hits me, okay? Tuition at a university was double, okay? I'm paying out of pocket, right? I don't have a bunch of financial aid or anything like that. I've got a little money saved up. I'm going to school. I'm paying out of pocket initially. I start getting scholarships later. But you know, it was going to cost me twice as much to go to a university. Listen, it's expensive to run a university. It just is. You know, it's a very large operation. And there's a lot of students going there. And when you have an operation get larger and larger, it's harder to manage that. And it costs a little more. We have great partnerships with universities, but we can cut the cost, and that's what I was looking at. It was 45 minutes or more for me to drive one way. Remember, I have a family. I'm trying to work part-time a little bit, trying to supplement my income. I mean, that's a big issue for me. Columbia State was in my backyard. We're in everybody's backyard in 9 counties. We're in your backyard here too. The thing about it, no matter where you're at with Columbia State, listen, we operate as one college. You know, our goal is to provide a consistent, successful student experience. Maintain consistent standards. Doesn't matter if you go to Columbia State in Clifton, Tennessee, or if you go to Columbia State here in Williamson County. You're going to have quality education. You're going to have access to the same services that you have at any Columbia State location. And I find that that's something that I didn't understand until I was working for the college, how hard they work to be diligent of that. Your kid needs tutoring? Listen, all the A students are in the tutoring office. All of them are in there. Kids are terrified to go to tutoring. They think that you know, you have to demonstrate that you have just like this innate talent to be successful at academics. Academics is hard work. I can tell you that from being a student for years. I can tell you that from being an educator for over 10 years. It is very hard work. And you know what? You use the tools that are available to you in order to be successful. That is also a life skill that you learn by going through an education process. We have that at every campus. So what can you do at Columbia State? Okay, degree programs, everybody knows about degree programs. You want to do a 4-year degree, you can get started at Columbia State. You can take advantage of programs like Tennessee Promise. Tennessee Reconnect is also a powerful program. You know, it's also funded by the state lottery program. And, you know, I wish more people knew about Tennessee Reconnect. If you're an adult wanting to go back and you don't have a college degree or any type of technical certificate, if you've been a Tennessee resident, you can go back to college. You can start at either at a community college like Columbia State, or you can go to a TCAT. You can get the education you need to be successful going forward. Degree programs, I would say probably about 52%, 52% of our students are involved in degree programs at Columbia State with intent to transfer to a university. And we cut that cost in half. I went to Vanderbilt for half price because I went to Columbia State first, y'all. That's how you do it. Career and technical programs, health sciences, most of our health science programs are considered career and technical programs. You can be done in 2 years. You can be a nurse. You can be an RN. You want to do like my sister did and be an X-ray technician, you can be done in 2 years. A lot of programs, medical lab technician, you can be done very quickly, be out there in the field. Other career and technical programs, Associate of Applied Science degrees in business. Had I known we had an Associate of Applied Science in business, I might not have become an English professor. I might have taken that program because I was really interested in running my own business at that time. A lot of opportunities there for our folks. Now, one of the things that I've become more familiar with in the last 6 weeks, I knew we had workforce programs, but I didn't understand the power and impact of a workforce program, having that available at the college. If you're out there and you're an industry leader and you're thinking, oh gosh, my folks need some type of training and education, but I don't know how to provide it to them, reach out to me. I'll connect you with the right people. They can move fast, they can move quickly, they can put you together a program, and they can have your workers up and running quickly. I hear a lot of people talk about academia moves really slow. Workforce does not move slow. It moves really quickly. We are a nonprofit by our construction, right? But at the same time, we do have to pay for the electric bill and the lights and the instruction. As long as it can pay for itself, we can put a program together for you. Dual enrollment has become one of the fastest growing segments of higher education across the nation. Let me talk to you about that a little bit here, okay? 40% growth at Columbia State in dual enrollment in the last 4 years, okay? 25% in the last 2 years. I mean, it's a massive area. If you don't know what dual enrollment is, it's essentially what's known as an EPSO. It is a opportunity for your students that are in high school to be able to take college classes, get credit for college, transfer those college credits. If they go to Columbia State, they're already there. If they go to a 4-year university, those classes transfer in. Most of those are in general education areas, but some of them, like in Fairview, we actually run at Fairview High School a mechatronics program where they actually complete a 2-year degree while they're in college. So, I mean, it's a very powerful opportunity for students right now. If your students combine dual enrollment with AP credits, advanced placement credits, it's very easy for them to easily knock out a year of college before they ever set foot in the door. So, summer courses, I was talking to someone earlier and I mentioned that Columbia State this summer has the highest enrollment in summer courses that we've ever had. So over 2,200 students currently taking classes at Columbia State. A lot of those are online, a lot of those are in person. Students that are at 4-year universities that want to continue to cut their cost, they'll take summer classes with us in order to try to whittle that cost down just a little bit. A lot of opportunity there for your students. I love what I do. We cover 9 counties. We're part of your community. Please remember us. We're here. We have direct connections to industry leaders, secondary educators, and community leaders. You know why? A lot of them went to school at Columbia State. Every time I'm in a gathering that has local leadership, local political leadership, I run into somebody who went to Columbia State just like I did. They either took a class, multiple classes, or degreed there before they moved on and got on with the rest of their lives. So the Williamson campus, we have a capacity over 2,500 students. We've been at that capacity, okay? I have to thank the late Charles Sargent. He saw a vision. 10 years ago, we were able to open our campus at over on Liberty Pike, and we were really fortunate to get 3 buildings. That doesn't happen without community leadership really helping us fund that, okay? There's only so much the state's going to give, and you have to demonstrate that you have local community willing to invest in you as well. We were able to get 3 buildings. We've just opened our 4th building in 2024. And a parking garage. We desperately needed a parking garage. We're very thankful to the city of Franklin for helping us while we desperately needed parking because we had so many students at one point we couldn't park them until we got a parking structure and parking garage. Ultimately, this is the bottom line. If you go into Columbia State, if you provide the effort, we'll provide the opportunities for you. It's what we do. We've got one more slide. All right. So this is our 4-building complex, guys. This is shot from down in the wilderness area that still exists. We can expand up to 9 buildings easily with the location that we have now. So, do you have any questions for me?
Who in this room has attended Columbia State or has a family member who has attended Columbia State? It is a great resource. And Shane, we appreciate you so much. And I know you'll be here to answer questions afterwards or talk with people individually, as will Neely. So we really appreciate it. Let's give them all a big hand and thank them for being here. There's Shane's contact information. So we have a couple of things going on right now. I don't know if she made it upstairs, but many of you met Sherry McHale downstairs, who is our new Operations and Engagement Director. Sherry started last week, and she and I described the month of July as being on a fast bullet train to August. We have a few things going on. And so mark your calendars for July 29th. That'll be Breakfast with the Mayors at Rolling Hills Community Church. And we are really having breakfast with mayors. We're going to have the new Brentwood Mayor, Nelson Andrews, as well as the new Spring Hill Mayor, Matt Fitterer. That's on our website, or you can find it on Eventbrite and RSVP for that. We would encourage you to come to that event. It's going to be great, and we're really excited about that. Our mind is a little occupied this week. We are celebrating 25 years on Thursday with a great event, a fun, casual event. Most of you are overdressed for Thursday, okay? I'm definitely overdressed for Thursday. We'll be at the Bicentennial Park. This is the first event to be held at the new Bicentennial Park just down at the end of the street here, and we're very excited, and we have a great dinner, catering and events by Suzette. As you come in, you'll mix and mingle in what we're calling the Garden of Good Vibes, where we've invited some of our collaborators, our nonprofits in the community to come and have display tables and help us play some games, from Games to Go, from Nashville, Tony Honeycutt. Dinner, catering and events by Suzette, and then dancing to the exotics. Lori Hardcastle and his band that are legendary in Franklin over 50 years, or just enjoy the summer night. There are fans down there. We bought you a fan. We'd just love for you to join us. We'd love it if you could RSVP in advance, and that's on our website or on Eventbrite as well. Thank you to our sponsors for this event. We are being the guinea pig a bit for the city. It's a new facility, and what does a perimeter mean when you're serving beverages from Lipman Brothers? What does that perimeter really mean? So we're hopeful to work well together. This is not an annual event. This is something that we're doing to celebrate our 25th anniversary. Many of you years ago came to when we, in the summer, had a shrimp boil, and it was hot. And this is kind of reminiscent of the shrimp boil. No shrimp, though, because we didn't want to mess up the new floor at the Bicentennial Park. So we invite you to join us on Thursday night. If you have any questions, speak with me or Sherry, and we look forward to that. And then is Nat Taylor up here? Nat, the director? Yay, here's Nat, director of the History and Culture Center. And Nat, tell people what they can do once we're done here.
Sure, thanks, Mindy. I think Mindy and Mr. Scales both did a great job kind of capturing what we do here at the History Center, so I won't repeat what they've already described, but you are more than welcome to tour the building while you're here today. If you can't do it today, you don't have time, you're welcome to come back here. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 4 o'clock. And I also want to invite you back in the future for our new exhibits. I know Mr. Scales touched on them a little bit, but in August, we have collaborated with the Franklin First United Methodist Church, and we are designing and building an exhibit to teach folks about the original Franklin Holiness Tabernacle Church, which was designed and built by the same folks that built and designed what became Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. We used to have one of those right here in Franklin. A lot of people don't know that history or that story. So we're excited to partner with them to tell that story here. September, as Mindy mentioned, maybe Mr. Scales did too, the 20th anniversary of the publication of The Widow of the South by Robert Hicks. So we're going to have an exhibit about Robert Hicks here to honor his historical impact on our community. And then later in the year, hopefully in October, we will have an exhibit about Minnie Pearl. A lot of people don't realize she's buried right here in Franklin and has a lot of connections with Franklin and our history, and was a real trailblazer in the women's comedy and women's entertainment. So we're excited for that exhibit too, and hopefully you all can come back here and take those in. And real honor to host Frank Talks here today, Mindy. Thank you. Thanks.
All righty. Thank you for making friends today and being close together. We look forward to seeing you either Thursday or later in the month at Breakfast with the Mayors. If you didn't introduce yourself to Sherry, be sure and say hi to Sherry. Her husband Billy's here with us today too. But we're excited about what's going on with Franklin and in our community, and thank you for being engaged. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks.